All right. All right, I'm here. Hold your horses. I'm here. Good morning. Sorry, I got it started right on time, but I was dragging my feet a little because uh Kayla is taking her nursing test. She's taking her finals, so I was was showing a little bit of support there for her. We were hanging out, cooking breakfast, taking some deep breaths, relaxing, focusing, centering, all of that. So I got it started, and anyway, it was a little late. Still, I'm always late though, because that's how I roll. If you haven't been here before, that's how I roll. Good morning. It's 8:20 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on April 18th. Happy Easter. Uh, Pass. Do people say Happy Passover? Geez, I'm not sure. How do people handle Easter and other traditions? But anyway, great holiday. Us Mormon tradition over here. We ate a lot of food yesterday. Boy, did we eat a lot of food yesterday. And we does anybody else get like Easter? Does anyone else's families do Easter baskets? They do. Like a lot of people go hunting for eggs, but our family is always mine and Kayla's family, I guess, has always done, like Christmas. It's been like Christmas. We get a basket. Our parents would get us baskets full of stuff, and we didn't get much this year. We just got some candy in a basket. But I don't know if that's a normal thing that most families do. I feel like it's kind of, you know, it takes away from the point of Easter. But then you could say the same thing about Christmas. But who cares? So we hung out yesterday over the weekend. Had a great time. Got ready for the new week. And what else? What else did we do last week? Played a lot of pickleball. Took a lot of money from my friends in pickleball. And sorry, my eye is very itchy, and because now it's allergy season, and I got to get some allergy medicine. Mashed potatoes. Good morning. We did Easter baskets for our kids, and it was lit. Nice. Yes. Did you get them? Like I remember, my family would always we would have like little. They would get us little baby sofa chairs. Uh, uh, uh yeah, and we inflatable baby sofa chairs, and our parents we would get a church outfit, and we would get a couple presents, and then we would do an Easter egg hunt, and that was always lit for sure. The Easter tradition is pagan holidays, man. They're funny to me. I saw a TikTok about the origin of Easter, and it had something to do with the goddess of fertility or sex or something. And I learned that that goddess is the Starbucks logo. It's the lady in that Starbucks logo. I thought it was a mermaid, but it's actually the goddess of fertility or sex or something like that. Obviously, I did not pay much attention to the TikTok because I don't remember, but who gives a fuck? Anyway, happy Easter. Um, yeah, it's just another week. Ready for another week. So okay, so yeah, I almost forgot to do my intro, but I'm Caden. This is my podcast. I read books, and then I talk about them on this podcast, so that I retain the information. I can talk about my thoughts, and if they're books that interest you, then you can listen along and get the meat of the book instead of spending all your time reading books. But would recommend that you go read books because it's good for your brain and it's good for the world to read and study hard things, challenging things, challenge yourself, and then yes. So I read books. I do it. I talk about it live on Twitch and on YouTube and Facebook under Caden's podcast, and then I also do. I have a blog, cadenkelly'sblog.wordpress.com. I don't write much these days, but you have access to all my stuff. The podcast goes live on Mondays early because we get the fuck after it, and then it is posted onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts on um, Tuesday morning. I just realized I'm not recording this, so It's going live, and I'm gonna have to friggin' Jimmy rig the podcast to get it posted. Sucks. I need it to just turn the record on when I start streaming. So, Caden Kelly's blog.wordpress.com. You get access to all my shit. And anyway, this podcast is mostly an accountability vehicle for me to read my books, to finish a book every week, and then to talk about it and to improve myself, my own critical thinking skills, to become a smarter person. I read shit about philosophy and particularly Stoicism and yoga. I don't know if I should say it's Buddhism or if it's yogaism. It's just it's like the books that I read on yoga philosophy doesn't have much to do with Buddhism, I don't think, or Buddhist tradition. It's mostly yoga. Anyway, I do financial literacy books. I do leadership books. I do human biology and behavioral psychology and all of the shit that all the shit that interests me. And yeah, with the intention, really, I really want to. I'm lucky enough to have access to all of the to have access to lots of information. I want to consume really good information. I don't want to just be caught up in a bunch of garbage media. Like when I'm a carpet cleaner, so I spend all of my time listening to something. I have headphones in, cleaning carpets all day, so I can listen to all the shit all day long. And anyway, so that's what I do. So instead of just bumping music all day long while I'm working, I try to be productive. And I do podcasts every now and then. I used to listen to and talk about podcasts, but mostly it's just books these days. Indigestion, I'm sorry. It's this eggs and avocado, this delicious, healthy, hearty breakfast I made. But I got my coffee right here. Good morning. Cheers. I hope you got your cup of joe. Or for you, mashed potatoes, I hope you got your Red Bull. I hope you're fisting your Red Bull right now. All right, well, let's jump right into it, huh? Shall we? So, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for showing up. Keep showing up. And if you're a vet in this, then thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. The podcast is growing in very slow speed. I don't do any advertising or promoting for it, which is, I would love to. I would love to turn this into my gig, to my full-time gig, but it doesn't bring me any bacon. And maybe I just got to take a risk, Maybe I gotta go all in. I gotta take a risk. I gotta risk it for the biscuit. That's what they say. But I have a gig right now cleaning carpets that I'm trying to take off before I do that. I think I could be responsible in a different way. But also, the book today, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and I'm just bringing it up now because it's about ambition and aspiration and trying to accomplish things, and a little bit of it talks about taking risks. And if you know anything about me, you know that I don't follow anybody on social media except for people that are like motivational people, influencers, not like workout influencers, but like people like Jocko Willink and Ryan Holiday, a Stoic, and Joe Rogan, Cameron Haynes, and some primal workout people. Like there's Primal Methods that I follow, is so awesome. And anyway, so all of my content is, when I do use social media, I try to keep it really, really motivational. It's my niche. I just want to keep trying to improve myself. I don't want to get caught up in garbage. So, but I get I'm bringing that up because a lot of the content that comes up talks about risks, and people who are successful have to take risks. And I remember taking quizzes in high school about how risk averse are you, how conservative are you, and I think I want to be risky so that I have potential to have great success. But I think internally, I'm actually really risk averse. And I think most people are actually risk averse because taking risks is scary and it leaves you vulnerable. And there's no security in taking risks. And I actually think it's kind of our biology to be risk averse. I don't think God or biology intended us to be risky because there's no security in it. There's very, people vary on all sides of the spectrum. And some people are naturally risky and some people are smart while they do it and some people are not. And but anyway, I want to be more risky in a smart way because I think I think that's the only way you can really accomplish awesome shit. Is it risky to start a podcast? Not really. I already had all of this shit. I had the computer, and I guess I had to get a nicer camera. I had a microphone. It wasn't risky. It was just vulnerable. I put myself in front of a camera and start talking and broadcasting it. But what would be risky is quitting my job to focus on a podcast full time. What would be risky is selling all of my shit to build a new business, to invest in a business. What would be risky would be selling all of my podcast stuff and investing in my carpet cleaning business. So, but risk. Anyway, risk is it's an interesting. I've been thinking a lot about it. If you can't tell, risky decisions are. I think I'm naturally risk averse, and I think most people are. But I want to learn to be more risky, so that so I can accomplish the shit I want to. I'm being accountable. I'm showing up. I'm studying the material. But last week we talked about or was it the week before? I think last week with Steven Pinker's. Oh, whoops! No, I just spoiled. Last week with whatever his name was, who did Influence. Cialdini. Was it Robert Cialdini? He wow, now I forgot what I was talking about because I forgot his name. Oh yeah. You want to get shit done, people could study. It's way easy to get material and study it and learn what to do, but nobody does the shit. Nobody does it. It's way harder to do the shit until it's not. And then you're doing it, and then it's not that hard. There was a short period of time where I really wanted to try stand-up comedy because I think I'm funny. Not really. But I took a public speaking class and I really enjoyed the challenge of being in front of people and trying to convey a message, and I thought it would be fun to try to do that, but try to make people laugh. But it's also incredibly daunting. And what's the risk of getting up in front of people and telling jokes? Embarrassment, really, and feeling just the gut-wrenching feeling of bombing and cringy. Anyway, it's not really risky though. It's not like your life is on the line or you're not, unless you quit your job to be a full-time stand-up, full-time comic. Stand-up do open mic at Wise Guys. No, I think that's kind of past. I don't want to do stand-up anymore because I got all this other shit I'm doing. And I'm not that funny. I don't have jokes. I tried writing jokes, but I think I don't know. I don't think my jokes are funny. It was a little phase in college when we were at Utah State when I was doing that public speaking class, and I was up in front of people, and I thought it would be fun to do this, but also to make people laugh. But that's past. Maybe sometime down the road though. I know they do that, the open mics, and I love going to watch stand up, but I'm not gonna do it. I think so. Maybe sometime. So anyway, let's just talk about the book. Let's move on. Let's pretend like I didn't say that. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. We've done The Obstacle is the Way, and we've done Courage is Calling, all by Ryan Holiday. He has a series of virtues. He writes these little short books on virtues. And I did all of his book. He has an audiobook for all of them except for this one. And so I've put this one. This is the one I wanted to read the most for a while, but it's the only one without an audiobook. Mashed potatoes. Going to one open mic night was enough for me to never want to do it. Yeah, I know. It's like you have to be. I feel like you have to be. Just like most things, you got to be passionate enough to and courageous enough to endure the bombing, of going up and like facing the fact that you are going to bomb. Maybe not this time, but at some point. And you got to be risky telling jokes. You got to tell joke. You just got to just say shit that is edgy sometimes, or it's just it's off the wall shit. You got to be unpredictable, and a lot of the times you don't make people laugh. And the first I've heard, I listen to Rogan and I listen to other comedians talk about their stand up career, and the first several years are horrible. But they're passionate enough to get through it. I'm not that passionate enough, but I might try it once and then never do it again. But anyway, Ego is the Enemy. I had to read this. So I had to sit down and read this one, the whole thing, and it's a really short book and it's really small. So it probably was like a 4 or 5 hour read. It was probably like a 5 or 6 hour read. I think I read slower than I'm able to listen, even though anyway, took me a while, and it was really hard. I had to, give up my evenings to come home and read a book because, again, I'm working all day until I go to the gym in the morning, and then I work, and then I come home, and I usually want to hang out and watch TV or play video games, but instead I was reading all week. And then this weekend I put it off, and so I spent all day yesterday between meals reading till I got it done. But excellent book by Ryan Holiday. So let's get right into it. Let me get my notes. So, okay. Yes, the book is broken into 3 parts. In fact, it's not even broken into chapters. It's so again, he has this one, ego, courage, and obstacles. And then there's a 4th one called Stillness is the Key. I think those are the 4 that he has available right now, and I don't know if he's doing more in his series of virtues, but they're not traditional books with chapters and conveying a message. He's exploring all aspects of a virtue, and ego is not a virtue. Ego is the opposite of a virtue. So the opposite of ego is humility. So the book is about humility, and it's not broken up into chapters. Again, what he does is very anecdotal, and he tells stories of all the aspects of ego, and kind of just breaks down. I really enjoy how he writes. It's very anecdotal, tells lots of stories of people and their egos. So, but it is broken into 3 parts. So he's broken down ego. First of all, let me just say, I was turned on to this because I was in yoga a while ago, like a year ago, and we were laying there in our meditation, and our instructor read us a quote about ego, about abolishing ego. And it's just turned me on to this concept of destroying our ego, obliterating our ego. And Stoicism, it's the Stoics preach it, yogis preach it about your identity. You are not as special as you think you are. You are just another piece of the puzzle in this grand scheme that we call life and existence. And you as an individual exist, but you even still, your experience, you are your ego will tell you that you're special and that you're better than other people, but yogi and Stoicism try to break this down. And just, like most virtues, they encourage humility. And anyway, Stoicism in particular, that's Ryan Holiday. If you don't know Ryan, he's the Ryan, like I know him on a first name basis. He's the creator of the Daily Stoic on Instagram, and he's had quite a successful life, and he's still, he has a bookshop or a bookstore in Austin, Texas with Joe Rogan. Not with Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan lives there too. And that's what he does. He's had a lot of success and fame, but he's not anyway, he's not in the public eye, which is which is funny to think about. I think about the famous people that everyone's always talking about, like the Kardashians, and like some athletes that are just always in the public eye. But he'll talk about ego, and when he talks about ego, he talks about most successful people are not in the public eye. They choose to have private lives because they have their life under control. Not to say that people that are in the public eye don't have their life under control, but these most successful people, most famous people, well, not even famous, just most successful people are they're people that are working on humility and trying to keep it all contained. Are they just, like, I can imagine how stressful it would be to always be in front of cameras and paparazzi and interviews and getting blasted by the Daily Mail and the Globe. It would just be so annoying. I think it would be really annoying. And anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just jump into the book. Let me get some coffee. All right. Ego is the enemy. So, for my notes out of the preface, I wrote, the goal is for the reader, Ryan's goal is for the reader to think less of themselves. Sounds silly, but that's the goal. When you abolish your ego, you think less of yourself. Introduction. The structure of the book is broken into 3 parts: aspire, success, and failure. The book is supposed to teach us humility in aspiration, graciousness in success, and resilience in failure. Humility in aspiration, graciousness in success, and resilience in failure. All right. Keep that in mind. So like I said, it's not broken into chapters. It's broken into themes. So because if it were broken into chapters, it would be like 25 chapters. But so I don't have really I just have the 3 themes: aspire, success, and failure. And I have notes under each subsection. So I'm not going to read the subsections. This is what I'm trying to say. The book, part 1, aspire. The first subsection, talk. Second, to be or to do. Third, become a student. I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to talk about my notes, like the notes I took from each of those, because it seemed tedious to write down all of the subsections of each section. So, section 1, aspire. Arrogance and self-absorption inhibit growth, as well as fantasy and vision. Detachment is the antidote. Detachment is the antidote to arrogance and self-absorption. Practice humility, diligence, self-awareness. More virtues. I love contemplating virtues, because just like I talked about hierarchy of values, you can't value all of the virtues equally. Some are more important than others. So contemplating what virtues are the most important to you, what that you'll uphold over others, is it's been a fun exercise for me. But humility and diligence come up often for me. Self-awareness is one that it's I guess it's less of a virtue and more of more like a philosophy. But remember I talked about it last week with Robert Cialdini. We call it awareness because of Sadhguru. Self-awareness is huge. It's again, it's to echo the last couple weeks. Self-awareness allows people to be aware of the outside world. When you're self-aware, you're aware of what's influencing you, what you like, what you don't like, and then you can make appropriate decisions with that knowledge. But it requires internal investigation. And just like that book Influence last week, some people have bad intentions and are trying to manipulate you to get to for their advancement. And other people, it's just a psychological, biological thing where people do or say stuff, and it comes across, or it just changes your behavior. It influences you to behave in ways that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily behave. And if you're not aware, if you don't have any awareness, then you can't recognize these things. So, so for our purposes today, arrogance and self-absorption, they prevent growth, inhibit growth. And the opposite of arrogance and self-absorption is self-awareness, humility, and diligence, and letting go of your own, ego. So, to add a little context to this too, I think why this book is so applicable is, like, last night I was hanging out with Kayla, and we were talking about her taking this final today and all of this hard work that she's put in the last couple years to get to this point. She wouldn't have been here if she didn't aspire to something. She wouldn't be stressed and she wouldn't be anxious if she wasn't working hard to accomplish something. And who knows how this test will go for her, and it could go well, it could go poorly, who knows. But what the point is, she hasn't been idle for the last 2 years. Excuse me. She's been aspiring for something. She's trying to get her nursing license so she can go be an RN and further her career and advance her career. And I had just finished the book, so I was applying all these principles that I had learned from, we were talking about these principles. But the book doesn't mean shit really if you're not trying to accomplish something. If you're idle, if you're complacent, if you're content even, then you're kind of just enthralled in your contentment, and you won't anyway, the point of the book is really, like, if you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to be successful, rich, or if you have goals you want to make, or if you want a career or whatever, whatever you're trying to accomplish, your ego is going to come. It will become in the way, and it can either take over and destroy you on your path, or it can prevent you from accomplishing it at all. Aspire, success, failure. Mashed potatoes. Being self-aware is one of the most important things to me. I try to be ultra aware of what I actually bring to the table and how I am as a person. And I get upset at myself because I realize I'm an idiot after the fact. Yeah, me too. I think I have a really big ego. I think I have, I think really highly of myself, and I'm in a, and it makes, I love this because it's demolishing that, and but I won't be able to abolish the qualities about myself that I don't like if I'm not able to recognize, if I don't have self-awareness. That's key, and that's why it's the first the first point of this aspiration. Self-awareness is good. But you're a good example of no ego, Hayden. Even though I know, it's usually how everyone thinks differently of themselves than other people think of them. But I think you have that really well under control. So, anyway, arrogance and self-absorption inhibit your growth. Move on from that. Talk is cheap. Doing is hard. Talking and not acting is ego. Quote, talking and doing fight for the same resources, close quote. That's it. I love that quote. Talking and doing fight for the same resources. When faced with a particular challenge, quote, do you seek the respite or talk? Do you seek the respite of talk, or do you face the struggle head on? Close quote. This is what I was saying earlier. There's actually doing what you want to accomplish, that's hard. You study this shit all the time, like there's I guess there's levels to it. You can just like think, I want to be a pro something. I want to be a pro cornhole player. I fucking love cornhole, pickleball, whatever. I want to be a pro athlete. And you tell your friends, I'm going to be a pro athlete. I want to be. I think I have the skill, the knowledge, the whatever, the grit. But then you never do anything. You don't even train. You don't even practice. You just talk. Talk is cheap. And then even if you do get started on that journey and you start training and becoming, and you know you're just in the early days or something, or you're not as successful at it as you think, but you're still working on it, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the best. He says talking and doing fight for the same resources. And your ego is what gets in the way. Talking about what you're going to accomplish instead of trying to accomplish it is ego. So stop the talk. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Head down. And what Cameron Hanes, he says, nobody cares. Work harder. Nobody cares. So I'm guilty of most egotistical things. I think a lot of us are, and you might resonate with some things more than others. But I've always felt like I wanted to have validation. I wanted to feel validated by my peers and by my family for the things that I do. I want to be well. I want to do well at all the things that I engage in because I want to be considered good. I want to be considered useful, not a waste of space or a waste of time. So, when I set out to do something, like here's an example. When we play video games, everybody sends clips when they do something sick, when they clutches something, when they're clutch, and the clips are so awesome to and there's nothing wrong with sending clips because it's fun. It's like, look what I did. This was awesome. I do it with video games, and I do it with my workouts, and I do it sometimes with this podcast or with the books I read. I do it with everything. I'll share the things that I'm learning or that I do well at, but my ego wants to be fed. It wants to be appreciated. It wants to feel this acceptance. I'm just being really vulnerable right now, but it's true. And it's hard for me to look past that and just to do the shit that I love or that I think I'm good at or that I'm trying to be better at without feeling validated by it. But that's ego. Ego is saying you need to be validated for what you're trying to do. You need to feel like everybody cares. But Cameron Hanes says nobody cares. Nobody cares. And maybe some people care that you're doing well, but nobody cares about your shit like you do. So keep your head down. That's talk is cheap. Talk and showing off is cheap. If you want to be really good at playing the video games, or if you want to be really smart and really wise, or have a successful business, or be a pro athlete, then just go do it and stop talking about it. Talking is cheap. Talking is ego. To be or to do. Don't ask, who do I want to be? Ask, what do I want to do? And then do that, regardless of how others vote you or view you. Probably meant to say view you. Don't ask, who do I want to be? Ask, what do I want to do? This has more to do, I think this has a lot to do with your identity. Mashed potatoes, I care. I know people care, and it's not like, I guess I'm not saying, sorry, I'm going to go back to that. I know people care. People care. I think, I don't know if you're just being funny, but like my family cares if I'm doing well. My friends care if I'm doing well, but it's, my ego wants to be like, wants this huge appreciation. Like I made those a couple workout videos because I think they're funny. But sometimes I want the validation of, oh, you're working so hard and you're hitting your goals and this is great and Caden's awesome. That's my ego. And I hear that in my head when I do shit or when I send pictures or videos or when I'm engaging with somebody. Like my ego is like feel validated, but when Cameron Hanes says nobody cares, that's me. That's him destroying my ego, and it sucks because then it means, oh, I'm not going to feel validated. But that means, okay, now I guess I could just focus on what I'm trying to do, and if I'm working out, it's because why am I working out? to feel validated? Am I working out because I want people to be impressed? Or am I working out because I have the Spartan race I want to do and I want to have more energy, I want to be stronger, and do I want a beach body, or do I have actual goals that I'm trying to reach? And I guess having a beach body is a goal, but it's kind of a vain validated goal. Who cares? Who fucking cares? That's the point. I know you're being cute, and I appreciate it. And that's why I share shit too, is because I want to be, and that's why I do this podcast. I want to be inspirational, and if we have that group chat, and I'm being accountable to the group, showing that I do work out, and that I'm showing up. But maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't notice, and this is kind of the point. Maybe you noticed or didn't notice that the last week I didn't send any workouts because my intention is my intention was to back off from my ego, and whether it was helpful or hurtful for the group, that was me trying to focus on myself and removing my ego from what I'm trying to do. Pickleball on Saturday must have stroked your ego then. Massive ego stroke on Saturday. I really couldn't lose. It's hard to be humble. What did Kanye say? It's hard to be humble when you're strutting on the Jumbotron. It's true, man. When you can't lose, it's hard to be humble. It's gotta say. So there's my 2 cents. Who do I want to be? It's more identity, not what do I want. Ask, what do I want to do? Don't ask, who do I want to be? Because asking who do I want to be is saying, how do I want other people to view me? But when you ask, what do I want to do? It doesn't become about how other people view you. It becomes about what you want to accomplish. And like the mantra of all of this wisdom is, what are your values? What do you value? What do you actually care about? And then accomplish those things. Work towards them. Fulfill them. And you'll be a happier person for it, whether other people appreciate it or not. If you actually value something and you work towards it, you will feel happier, you'll feel better, regardless of how other people view it. Don't ask, who do I want to be? Ask, what do I want to do? Always be a student. The ego will tell you that you know it all. Humility allows for continual learning and improvement. Always be a student. Yeah, that one speaks for itself. Be driven by reason, not passion or unbridled enthusiasm. Focused rather than zealous. This was a fun one to think about, because passion, you think about, people that are passionate, like so and so's passionate. I have a passion. I'm passionate about something. And you think that's a great thing because I feel like it gives someone an edge when they're trying to do something. I'm passionate about something. But he says, be driven, instead of being driven by passion, be driven by reason. And so I'll keep going on the thought. Quote, passion is form over function. Purpose is function, function, function. Passion are the emotions behind your decision and your action, but purpose is what gives meaning to your action, and it's function, function, function. When you're driven by reason, then you're able to make good decisions, even when you're emotional and your emotions might say otherwise. Because if you're driven, like, let me think of, he gives several examples. I think one that comes to mind is he talks about Alexander the Great on his conquests, driven by passion to be to be a great conqueror. And he was driven by his passion and not by reason, and ultimately led to his demise. I might be kind of off base, but that's kind of the point. If you're driven by reason, you can adjust. You can make adjustments in your aspiration, in what you're trying to accomplish something. If you're driven by passion, your ego will be blind to the truth because of your emotions telling you I don't care what happens. I don't care what's happening. This is the path we have to take because this is my passion. This is what I'm driven by. And all of this is about getting rid of your fucking ego. Quote, greatness comes from humble beginnings. It comes from grunt work. It means you're the least important person in the room until you change that with results. Greatness comes from humble beginnings. It comes from grunt work. It means you're the least important person in the room until you change that with results. Greatness comes from humble beginnings. It's echoing talk, talk, talk. A lot of this is kind of, again, he's just kind of explaining the function of humility and ego in these these separate parts. So some of it's kind of repetitive, but talk is cheap. Again, humble beginnings. Put your head down. And accept you're the least important person in the room until you change that with results. Quote, our own path will in some ways be defined by the amount of nonsense we are willing to deal with. I don't know where that came from, but I like that. I took it down. Our own path will in some ways be defined by the amount of nonsense we are willing to deal with. I guess that has to do a lot with passion and purpose as well. Passion and reason. Ooh, yeah, he talks about pride. Pride cometh before the fall. And that reminded me of that Joseph Smith movie where that guy tells Joseph, beware of pride, boy. Your eternal soul is at stake. It's, pride. Pride I guess, pursuing passions over reason is a form of pride. A form of pride or a form of pride? Quote, there is no triumph without toil, close quote. You cannot build a legacy on ideas. You must practice day after day. And then I quoted Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Put in the work, put in the hours, and take what's ours. Cheers to Dwayne. So that's aspiration. That's what I got for aspiration. It's we have to destroy our ego by admitting that whatever we're pursuing, we might not be very good at it, but we're going to work at it day in, day out, and we're going to learn. Remember last week with influence, when you begin anything new, you are consequently the least intelligent person in the room and the most influenced, the people that are in charge of what you're trying to do become the most influential. And it's important, again, to have awareness to know if what they're influencing you to do is good or bad. And because you don't know anything about the subject, people tend to jump in, to be all in on what they're being taught because of their lack of knowledge, the lack of experience. And right here with your ego, it takes ego to be aware of these kind of people and what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and to do it the right way and to do it without vanity, because you do it because it speaks to your values and to your virtues. It speaks to what you cherish the most, not because of how other people will see you. Remember, he says, don't ask, who do I want to be? Ask, what do I want to do? Excellent questions. Okay, let's move on. Part 2, success. So you go after it. You fucking get after it, and then what? You win. You succeed. Then what happens? Quote, Genghis Khan. Well, you know what? Before I talk about Genghis Khan, I want to do this. And I should have done this. I'm going to do this too for aspiration. He has a little segment, a little paragraph at the beginning of each part. So for aspiration, he said, here we are setting out to do something. We have a goal, a calling, a new beginning. Every great journey begins here. Yet far too many of us never reach our intended destination. Ego, more often than not, is the culprit. We build ourselves up with fantastical stories. We pretend we have it all figured out. We let our stars burn bright and hot only to fizzle out, and we have no idea why. These are symptoms of ego, for which humility and reality are the cure. That's for aspiration. I love it. I'm going to go now. We'll do that for success. before we move on. Success. Here we are at the top of the mountain. We worked hard to climb, or at least the summit is in sight. Now we face new temptations and problems. We breathe thinner air in an unforgiving environment. Why is success so ephemeral? Ego shortens it. Whether a collapse is dramatic or a slow erosion, it's always possible and often unnecessary. Let me read that sentence again. Whether a collapse is dramatic or a slow erosion, it is always possible and often unnecessary. We stop learning, we stop listening, and we lose our grasp on what matters. We become victims of ourselves and the competition. Sobriety, open-mindedness, organization, and purpose. These are the great stabilizers. They balance out the ego and pride that comes with achievement and recognition. Sobriety, open-mindedness, organization, and purpose. So that's what we talk about here. For success. Quote, Genghis Khan was the greatest conqueror that the world ever knew because he was more open to learning than any other conqueror has ever been. He talks about Genghis Khan's story. One thing I didn't know about Genghis Khan is with every town or city that he conquered, he would send scholars into their libraries and stuff and learn the tradition of the culture and figure out why they behaved and did the things they did and learn how to incorporate it in his conquest so that he became stronger in each area. So he moved from place to place and wasn't taken back by his, Genghis Khan was a fucking ruthless monster, but he was so successful because he didn't have an ego in this regard. He didn't take over a town and say, I'm so great, look what I've done, and I have it figured out, and I know how to conquer, and so I'm just going to keep doing it. That's what Alexander the Great did, and it eventually killed him. I actually don't know what killed Genghis Khan. Did his own people kill him? I'm going to Google that real fast. Because Genghis Khan, as Ryan Holiday explains, I don't want Twitch. He talks about how he was able to learn from each place he took over. Okay, Genghis Khan death, or I'll say, how did he die? The great Khan, who was over 60 and in failing health, may have succumbed to injuries incurred during a fall from his horse in the previous year. Khan was born as Temujin around 1162. So yeah, he wasn't poisoned by his own people. He fell off his horse when he was 60. And that sucks. That shit's going to hurt. So anyway, Khan is a good example of destroying the ego and learning, being a continual learner, like we learned in Aspiration. Ego wants you to believe you planned your success all along. Humility reminds you that your consistent practice and hard work to do something, not to be something, is what made you successful. Humility reminds you that your consistent practice and hard work to do something, not to be something, is what made you successful. Ego tells you that you had a plan all along, that you had you had it all figured out. Like Genghis Khan was like, I knew exactly what I was doing the whole time, and I'm going to just keep doing it. But humility reminds you that your hard work to do something is what made you successful. We say yes to all tasks that come our way, even when they don't resemble our values, because our ego wants to prove something to people. Understand your goals and values and say yes only to the things that bring you closer to them. Yeah, this I love. It reminds me of "Do Nothing" by Celeste Headlee. She talks about how she was a great example of just saying yes to all of the jobs and to all the work that came her way to prove herself or something. And when you become successful and if your business is growing, you're gonna. Okay, here's an example. For me, as a carpet cleaner, as I grow, I'm getting asked to do work that I've never done before. Like shit like, oh, do you clean air ducts? Or do you clean storage units? Just like I'm a fucking carpet cleaner. And Celeste Headley, as she gained success, she started getting offered a lot of other jobs, a lot of extra jobs, and she felt obligated to take them because of her success. But the point is, and her point is, to again to go back to your values and understand why you were doing what you did in the first place, what got you here, and what you need to do today to maintain that or to challenge yourself again. But just saying yes to work for work's sake is ego, because it might say I'm so great at what I'm doing, or I'm an overachiever, or I'm ultra accomplished and I can do all of this. But you have to learn how to say no. I have to learn how to say no. I took and Mashed Potatoes called me out on it a couple weeks ago. I took a flood that came through in the evening, and it wasn't a particularly busy day for me anyway. I had no problem doing it, but at what point am I willing to do I need to say no? And I say no to a lot of work because a lot of it comes at it, well, I say no for a lot of reasons, but the point is, when do you say no to work? When do you say no to opportunity? And when do you say yes? When do you know what to do and when to do? I guess the point is, he says, the note that I took was, understand your goals and your values and say yes only to the things that bring you closer to them. Still, even after your success. He has a whole section on entitlement, and my only note was, beware entitlement. And my 2 cents on entitlement will come after I take a sip of this coffee. Entitlement is pretty interesting to me. Okay. What is entitlement? I think I think about it because I know people in my life that feel entitled, and the crazy thing is I don't think that they're aware that they feel entitled. And I should also say, I think most of us at some point will feel entitled to things. So just to share my thoughts on entitlement, especially when you become successful, like you feel like you're entitled to special treatment. I mean, is Will Smith a good example that he feels entitled that he can walk up to Chris Rock in the middle of the Grammys and slap him on the face? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about that situation at all. But it's what popped into my mind. When you become ultra successful, maybe you feel entitled to special treatment and to behave in ways that aren't conventionally okay. So to disrupt entitlement, or to disrupt that, you have to be I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you self-aware enough to recognize that you're not special enough and you don't deserve this entitlement, regardless of your success? He talks about Marcus Aurelius. I've talked about him before. He was a Roman emperor. I think in the 1st or 2nd century. I don't remember. But he was, or 4th century. I could look it up. I don't care though. Marcus Aurelius was an incredibly humble guy, and probably Ryan Holiday's favorite Stoic. And what I'm saying is, even though he was at the time the most powerful person on the planet, a Roman emperor, and he writes in his book Meditations, which we did a podcast on that a while ago, how it's his responsibility to set a good example, to wake up early in the morning and to do his work and to not complain and to respect people, to respect his servants, to respect women. And, the most powerful person, he could have or do anything that he wants. But he had the self-awareness and the humility to say, I have gained all this power, but I will not abuse it. I will use it responsibly, and I will do right by my people and by myself. But even people that aren't successful feel like they have entitlement. Maybe you get your first job and you feel like you're entitled to time off, to vacation time. Maybe you feel entitled to a certain amount of money. Maybe you feel like you're whatever. Um, Success can breed entitlement, but entitlement is so. Now here's the question. Uh, since I said that example about time off and vacation and salary or whatever, do you feel entitled to that, or do you feel like, or it, or do you need that to support to support yourself and your family? Do you need X amount of dollars? Do you need X amount of time off? And I'm incredibly lucky because I have a business that I run that I'm learning how to operate and I'm learning how to build it up to something bigger than what it is. And I actually work way more than I did when I was doing it with my family. I work more now by myself, way more. But before I used to feel I didn't feel entitled to working certain hours. I just didn't want to. And I've read a lot of books about people are the happiest and the most well off when they work X amount of hours and receive X amount of dollars. But so I guess I don't know. Was it maybe it was entitlement. I don't know. Maybe to be ultra vulnerable again. Maybe I did feel entitled to only having to work a certain amount of time. But now I have a business and I'm working more hours, and my pay isn't like that much different. Excuse me. So, how do you get rid of that? Maybe I should have paid more attention to that chapter about entitlement because because whether you feel entitled to, maybe you need $80,000 a year to take care of your family or to take care of yourself. So I don't know, maybe. I don't know, because that's not feeling. You don't feel entitled to that. You need that. So if you're working a job and you're getting paid $60,000, and you're asking for 80, I guess you're not necessarily. You don't feel entitled to that. You're just demanding it. I don't know. I don't really know how to. I'm not really processing that very well. Mashed potatoes. So where do you land now? I thought you were all in on working only the amount of hours you need to. Yeah, exactly. I still feel that way. I work more though, and I guess I've just accepted the fact that I don't want to. Again, I want to have my time to live. I want to have more time to do things that I want to do that make me happy, and to contribute to things like this podcast or to my music or whatever that makes me feel fulfilled. But I guess I just feel like I have to do the work that I'm doing for the carpet cleaning because I don't know how, like, I can't not do it. I can't just shrug the work and expect it to grow. I don't know. It is kind of weird. I don't want to work 60-hour weeks, and I don't really work 60-hour weeks. So I'm anticipating this summer I'll be working some 60-hour weeks, but that's why I hired this kid. I guess maybe that's kind of why I want to take risks. I want to hire more people. I want to build up a system that other people can fill and do work. So the work is more distributed, and it's not just this kid that I'm training now. I tell him I'm the only one that knows how to do 100% of the work. From getting the work, doing the work, and accounting for the work, the accounting, whatever. Like, I'm the only one that knows how to do all of it. But I can. That's why I like reading these books on business systems, is because I'm learning how to break down each aspect of a job, of the business, and distribute it as roles, as jobs. So that means less money in my pocket, but also means more time available for myself. And so really I just need to keep doing that. I need to keep I'm working hard in my business now so other people can fill the roles. Because if I keep operating the way that we have been for the last 4 years, things would be going really well, but I would just continue to do all the work. And now that my family is out, now that I've bought everybody out, it's just me. Before I hired this kid, while it was just me, I was, doing everything, doing even more. So anyway, I feel the same. I don't want to do more. I want more time available to be with the people that I care about, to do things that I feel like are helpful, to work on my hobbies. And, I would love to have the time available to work on this podcast, or to work on to write more and to do more TikToks or shit, things that I think are helpful, build up my brand, my name, to help people. But I'm doing that for carpet cleaning, and I think I'm on the path to free myself from the labor and all of the time it takes to do the work, and to give other people opportunity, to pay other people to do work, give them a job, and support them that way. It's pretty cool to run a business when that's the intention. I want to give this kid that I'm training the opportunity to make some cash, figure out what he's passionate about, to work really hard at the job, but not to be married to the job. From the beginning, we've established he can do this as long as he wants, and he can work up this white glove ladder as much as he wants. But the point is, while he's here, for him to figure out what he loves, and then to do that with anybody else that I'm able to hire. Anybody else, I want, if you have a particular skill, or like if you have a degree in marketing and you want to come market for White Glove, then you come do that. Come do it really well and refine your skills, and then move on whenever it's time. Whatever. So, but no, I don't want to be completely consumed in work. I want to work really hard, but I don't want to be consumed completely in white glove, carpet cleaning, working without a direction, working without accomplishing something, right? Does that make sense? But entitlement, anyway, I might go back and read that part, because that was, I might be missing the big broad stroke of what he's trying to say. But basically, don't feel entitled. Your ego feels entitled to certain things, but humility recognizes that you aren't entitled to anything. In fact, any success that you want, you have to work for, and any success you want to maintain, you have to work on. Manage yourself and your business. Echoes systemizing your business. Yeah, I just talked about systemizing my business. Quote, go and put yourself in touch with the infinite and your conscious separation from the world. This is his last note on success. Go and put yourself in touch with the infinite and end your conscious separation from the world, or your ego. Stop thinking that you're bigger than the world, that you yourself. Recognize you are just a small piece in this grand scheme of life. Whether it was God, or whether it was nature with the Big Bang, or whether it was some other kind of spiritual religion, connecting yourself. He quoted Muhammad Ali and said, "It's hard to be humble when you are as great as I am." Remember, he's one of the greatest boxers of all time. But he was, I guess the point is, he was saying, if we're all, like, when you break people down to nuts and bolts, we're all made of the same stuff. Some of us are bigger, stronger, smarter than others, but some people work harder. Some people are more focused. And the point is, we're all made of the same stuff. We all pretty much come from the same place. We all come from our mother's womb, and we all have, even though our cultures are different, we eat food, we drink water, we shit, we sleep. We're all pretty much the same, right? That's the point. And when you recognize that you are a piece of the grand scheme, then this is what yoga is. You are the grand scheme. You are everything. When you recognize you are as an individual, you aren't special as an individual. You're special because you are everything. You're also everyone. It's a pretty wild concept, but one thing I resonate really is like the magnitude of nature and the universe and all of the there's all of the infinite galaxies that are in space, all moving around away from each other. Even just our own galaxy with the few planets and the sun, pretty fucking magnificent. And when you if you meditate on this grandiose system of life, you become a part of it. Anyway, this is all spiritual part of it. This is his last note though on success. You aren't successful or amazing because of you and your own special talents and ability. You're amazing because you're part of the whole system. Pretty cool. I like that a lot. That's success, baby. So we aspire to something and then sometimes we accomplish it. But then what happens when we don't? This is failure. He says, here we are experiencing the trials endemic to any journey. Perhaps we failed. Perhaps our goal turned out to be harder to achieve than we anticipated. No one is permanently successful, and not everyone finds success on the first attempt. We all deal with setbacks along the way. Ego not only leaves us unprepared for these circumstances, it often contributed to their occurrence in the first place. I'll say that one more time. Ego not only leaves us unprepared for these circumstances, it often contributed to their occurrence in the first place. On their occurrence. Did I say that right? The way to rise again, requires a reorientation and increased self-awareness. We don't need pity, or our own or anyone else's. We need purpose, poise, and patience. So, to be brief, because I'm already an hour and 10 minutes into this. When you aspire to something, often you don't achieve something. You won't achieve it or accomplish or become successful on the first attempt. Often. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You should try if it means something to you. If it's a part of your values and your identity, as something you want to do, not someone you want to be recognized as, but something you want to do, you should try it. And you're probably going to fail, and you're probably going to suck at it. And just like if you want to be a stand-up comedian, if it's part of your core identity, something you want to do, you should try it and do it regardless of how bad it sucks to not be funny sometimes and to be rejected on stage. But you try and you fail. You'll try and you fail. So what do? Your ego is good. Sometimes your ego is going to be like he says, the reason why you fail. You're going to think you're great at something. You're going to talk big talk. You're going to try it and then fail, and then you're going to blame other people because you think you're great. You're going to blame the crowd because you think you're great. But you're not great. You just started. You just tried it. Some people are better than others on their first attempt, but you just started. You aren't that great at stand-up comedy. You aren't great at pickleball. You aren't great at video games. You just started. And me, I'm 26. You know, I've only been around for a little while. And I just barely started doing things that I like. I kind of dilly-dallied around, you know, for the first 5 years of my 20s. But I didn't really get serious about my health or, you know, my ambitions. Like I did the podcast. I did a Mormon series podcast for like 6 months or 4 months or something. When was it? 2018, 2019. And it was hard. It was challenging. But I didn't take it. I didn't commit to goals. I didn't commit to myself. I just kind of was just trying things out. There's nothing wrong. I guess there's nothing wrong with any of that. What I'm saying is I suck at a lot of things that I do right now because I'm just getting started. But I'm trying, you know, and all you can do is try. And you're going to fail, but your ego is going to kick you down. Humility is going to bring you back up. It's going to help you accomplish. And just like my girlfriend taking her test right now, we were talking about failure, and I was saying, if you fail, and you know, you've taken all of the practice tests this whole semester, you've failed. You've missed questions, you've missed points. In some aspect, even if you get 99%, you failed at 1%, right? So you'll fail unless you get 100%, you're going to fail. So either you get the requisite percentage to pass. Ego will tell you that you're smart and successful, and then you don't need to keep learning. Humility will tell you, I got 80% right. I still failed at 20%. And humility will tell you there's something else to learn. There's something else to get better at. And then if you fail, if you get below requisite, you get 50% or something. Ego will say the test was too hard. I didn't have ample time to study. It didn't match the practice tests, whatever. It was a bogus test. Or I'm a shitty test taker. I'd listen to a Daniel Tosh bit on taking tests. It's hilarious. But humility will say, I got 50% right, but I still have a long way to go until I'm a qualified nurse. So let's talk about failure for a second. That's pretty much the point. If success is ego intoxication, failure is a direct blow to ego. Quote, it's far better when doing good work is sufficient. In other words, the less attached we are to outcomes, the better. When fulfilling our own standards is what fills us with pride and self-respect. When the effort, not the results, good or bad, is enough. Close quote. I messed up a lot of words, so I think I read that really slow. It is far better when doing good work is sufficient. Or in other words, the less attached we are to outcomes, the better. Yeah, man. Geez. If you have something, like if you want to be really good, it's like, it should be sufficient. What does he say? That doing good work is sufficient. Or if we're less attached to outcomes, the better. Because we fail. We suck sometimes. And if are we attached to the process, though, or are we attached to the results? Are we attached to how other people view us when doing something? The results? And how people view the results? Or are we attached to the process, the practice, the mundane practice? We cannot let what other people think about our efforts be what drives us. Most of us have shitty values anyway, so their judgments are usually shitty. That reminds me of I took that because of was it Irresistible by Adam Alter about social media. We crave social media and smartphones and smart technology because of our human biology. We crave human interaction. We crave acceptance. And like I've said earlier on this podcast, I seek validation, and that's kind of a human trait. It's a tendency because primally we want to be accepted in our tribe, in our group, in our culture. We want to be accepted because to be rejected usually means exile, and back for our ancestors it meant death. But today it still sucks to be socially isolated from our peers and from our families. So we do things and we want to be validated. There's a lot of books that I've read that support that claim. But ego is what says you need to do this because you need to be validated by these people. But humility says this is what I value and this is what I'm going to do. And really, humility says I'm going to do this regardless of what other people say because it's something that I cherish, which is really kind of a complex system. But I think we have the privilege of behaving that way today because we can, even though our family and our friends might not appreciate what we like or what we do, we'll feel rejected or feel like an outcast. You can find a group of people that do pretty much exactly what you do, regardless of how unique it is on the internet. You can find a group on Reddit that is doing what you're doing right now, and you'll find people that have written books on it and made documentaries. I've learned that through every so-called original thought I've had in this self-exploration journey I'm on. Someone has already written a book on. That's why I'm reading all these books. I think I've thought, my ego says, wow, you're really smart. You're coming up with all these thoughts, all these ideas. You're really smart. And then I'm humbled really quickly when I learn someone's already written a book, someone's already had a documentary, and they've been there's people that study it for the last 20 goddamn years. What I'm learning is not unique. It's not original. It's not special. There's already a group of people doing it. But what I am learning is it speaks to my values. It speaks to my identity. It's the shit that I want to do. what I want to do is inspire people with authentic information, with real quantifiable data, why people behave the way they do, and how you can change your behavior to have a better life. And then if you're not spiritual like me, you can find purpose in life, have meaning without attaching it to God or spirituality, because a lot of religion is established on the base that we want to attach suffering and success and meaning to life, and we want to attach it to we do attach it to external phenomena like God. Anyway, yeah, that's a tangent, but that's what ego says. Oh, you're so great, like you figured this out, or you did this and you failed. But what I'm saying is, someone's already probably done the shit that you're trying to do. So lose your ego. Accept your failures, learn from them, and move on. Don't revel in them or ignore them. Don't be blinded by hate and bitterness. Have extreme ownership. That's that's Jocko Willink. He was talking about leadership, but you can do it with your own individual as an individual. Have ownership. When you fail, take ownership and learn from it. Because if you blame others, you're not going to learn, and likely you're not going to bounce back. People that fail and learn from their failures are capable. They're better equipped to bounce back and to be successful again. Then the last note I took was it was a Celtic saying, quote, "See much, study much, suffer much. That is the path to wisdom." See much, study much, suffer much. And that's about experiencing and doing life. That's not just reading books or watching videos or taking lectures. It's about doing and experiencing. And we at Easter dinner yesterday, my family, we were all together. We were all together, and they were talking about all of their fun stories about growing up and things that they did. And you can't relate with people like that over social media. But especially, and you can't have experiences like that when you're consumed by things like social media, or you're consumed by anything, or if you're addicted to something and you're sacrificing quality time in relationships or experiences to do whatever you're like engaged in video games. You stop playing pickleball because you can't get enough video games. I feel that all the fucking time. But go do shit and accept the failure. Accept that trying and failing is just as more natural than trying and succeeding. But you can't succeed if you don't try, and you can't succeed if you don't learn from your failures. I'm learning that little by little as I go along. Mashed Potatoes says, "What's the balance between losing your ego and positive self-talk? Like, should I always say, you don't have anything, you're not good yet? Work harder. Or should I say, that was a good attempt, how can I improve?" I think the second one. You don't want to be degrading. I actually think, just speculating, just talking about it. Like the Cameron Haynes of the world who say, nobody cares, work harder. That's kind of egotistical too. When you let me think. If I okay, so I'm just thinking out loud. I keep coming back to pickleball for some reason, probably because I was so goddamn good on Saturday playing pickleball. But if I wanted to be a professional pickleball player, or professional basketball, or professional video game player, or if I wanted to start a business, I think the point is you need to understand your values, understand your goals, and then take risks and take action. And then and then if you try and you fail, I don't think you should be degrading to yourself. I think you should be I think you need to accept I don't know shit. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to I'm a 2.5 in pickleball. I don't know how to get up to 3.0, 3.5, 4.0. Is eventually I want to be a 5.0, but I don't know how to get up there. Instead of saying, "Man, I suck. I suck. I suck. I suck." That's I guess that's just really negative self-talk. I think I don't think I don't even think psychologically that has any merit. I think the best thing you could do for yourself is saying, "Man, I'm struggling and I really want this is where I want to go. I struggle and I suffer and I suck at pickleball. I lose. I keep making errors and I want to be better. And so what do I got to do to improve?" And then one thing Holiday talks a ton about in his I listened to a couple interviews with him. He talks a ton about getting mentors, about having mentors in whatever you're trying to do. So an obvious example, if you're trying to be a professional athlete, is get a coach, get a trainer, get someone who's better at the sport than you are, and learn from their example. And that's what I was saying about influence from Robert Cialdini's book Influence. When you are trying to do something new and you don't know how to do it, you're going to be vulnerable. But if you accept that you're the least intelligent or skilled person in the room or on the court, you're going to learn from people that are better than you. And then you'll eventually learn that some people are better at the sport than the other people that are proclaiming to be pros. And then you'll lean towards the people that you resonate with more. Yeah, I don't think you want to be degrading to yourself. You don't want to be degrading to others. Should I always say, you don't have anything. You're not good yet. Work harder. Yeah. Nobody cares. Work harder is Haynes' mantra, and I like it. I think it's gritty, and it doesn't. To me, it doesn't mean it's not degrading to me, but it refocuses me as far as I'm not doing this because I want to impress other people. I'm doing this because I want to do it and I want to be good at it. I want to succeed in this. And yeah, then if you go out and you play in a pickleball tournament and you lose, you get swept or it was a close loss. Yeah, accept the loss, accept the failure, and yeah. So I think ego will tell you that. Well, anyway, the whole point of the book is to remove the ego, and egotistical people they're focused on themselves, and not other people. They're focused not even just themselves. In fact, they think that they're better and they're more special, more unique than other people's experience. But humility will say that I'm not special. I'm a conglomerate of the whole system. And especially if you play a team sport, I think quarterbacks in football are the most. I don't know shit about football, but everyone always talks about the quarterback. The quarterback's the highest paid athlete on the team, but how good is the quarterback without a good offensive line, right? And what's the offensive tackle that has the quarterback's blind side? Isn't that one the second most paid athlete? I think I only know that because of Blind Side with Sandra Bullock. But yeah, we our ego will say, I'm the quarterback, I'm the most important person on the team. But even still, even though you might be viewed, you might think I'm the most important person because I'm paid the most or I have the most control. Oh, he's getting off his football takes. Yeah, they're very, I don't know shit about football, but I'm just, I'm speculating. If you're part of a team, you are only as good as the weakest link on the team, right? And your ego will tell you that you are the most important person on the team, but humility will say the weakest person on the team is the strongest that I can be. And a good leader, probably like Tom Brady, I don't really know, but maybe Tom Brady is so good because he knew how to build up his team. You know how to build up the people around you. Everybody's working hard, and when someone's slacking off, a good leader, a successful person on the team is going to help build up that person, or know when to cut them off, know when to get them off the team. Anyway, that's ego, baby. Ego's a bitch, and I really even about, it's not always just about being successful. Removing your ego will help you live a happier life, because when you don't rely on other people's perspective for your success or your failure, you rely on yourself. You have control. You have control of how you feel about events. And whether you accomplish something phenomenal that the whole world recognizes, or you accomplish something just completely private and individual, if you remove your ego and say, I did something great, I knew what I went out to accomplish, and it took a lot of failure and effort to get there, but I figured it out. And it was a personal victory, whether anyone recognizes it or not. It was a personal victory. You can have that satisfaction and peace inside, internally. That's where happiness resonates. It shouldn't resonate with how other people see the shit. It resonates with how you see yourself. I heard someone say something along the lines of, you don't tolerate people talking down or poorly to your face. So why do you do it to yourself? We tolerate when we talk shitty about ourselves, but we won't tolerate what most people don't tolerate when other people talk shitty about them. So why do we do that to ourselves? The point is, remove your ego and talk positively about yourself. Reinforce yourself, and I think it's really wise, stoic advice. That's it. That's the book. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Excellent book. Yeah, I didn't talk about his credentials because I forgot. We've done it before. He's a strategist and a writer. He dropped out of college at 19 to apprentice under Robert Greene, author of The 48 Laws of Power. I had that on my queue. I got to read that at some point. And later served as the director of marketing for American Apparel. His company, Brass Check, has advised clients like Google, Taser, and Complex, as well as many prominent best-selling authors. Holiday has written 4 previous books, most recently The Obstacle is the Way, which has been translated into 17 languages and is a cult following among NFL coaches, world-class athletes, TV personalities, political leaders, and others around the world. He lives on a small ranch outside Austin, Texas. Yeah, I hold Ryan Holiday in high regard. Let's talk about next week. I've already started reading it because it's a long-ass fucking book. Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. The Case for Reason, Science, Humanism, and Progress. Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. This will be a good one. I'm halfway done. This one's a 27-hour audiobook. Fucking long. So I'm glad I got half of it done in between Ego is the Enemy. And you can catch me live, and you can join us in the chat with Mashed Potatoes at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time next Monday. Should be here. I got a lot of shit coming up in the next few months, but I don't think it'll screw up with my podcast times. So next week, the 25th, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Find me Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. YouTube or Facebook will be easier under Caden's Podcast, or go to my blog, Caden Kelly's blog.wordpress.com, or just listen to the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts that drops on Tuesday. But if you want to be a part of the chat, come join us live. You can find me on my socials right here on the bottom of the video. Caden's Podcast on Instagram, KKelly_7 on Twitter, or find my TikToks and my Instagram reels and all that shit. So, but we do this, baby. We're out here trying to improve ourselves. Destroy your ego. Go throughout this week thinking about how you view yourself and why you do the shit that you do. It might change your perspective on why you do what you do. And I just think when you take the time to have self-awareness, why you do what you do, why you're influenced by the things that you're influenced by, you can just it'll allow you to make better decisions to live a happier, better life. So I always say, go do hard shit, but this week, go do some self awareness time, some meditation, and think about why you do what you do. Think about how you can improve your situation. What is in your control and what's not in your control. Go make better decisions. Go be happier. You can control that. You can control what you eat, what you consume on social media. You can control how you spend your time. You can't control how other people influence you, but you can control your response. You can be aware of how people are trying to influence you. We're bombarded by social media and advertisements and business propaganda and political propaganda, and we can't control that. We can control it a little. You can delete your social media, but you can't, if you got to drive around, you're going to see billboards. Be aware of what's around. Be aware of your surroundings, what you're influenced by. Go make better decisions. Next week, Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. You could try reading along and catching up with me, or just check out the podcast next week. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
They